page 34. Everybody turn to page 34 in your science book. Okay. I'm going to give my online friends just another second to get on. Make sure we've got everybody. Kendall, Josie, Lucas, King, Cam. Okay. Let's see if anybody else who we're missing. DJ, Fiona, Kaylee, Maggie, Josie. Let me send a message. Time for science, everyone.
Remember, I am here, but not my Chromebook.
All right. Okay, hang on. All right. Okay, shut the door. All right. Page 34 in our science books. We are starting a new unit about animals and their body systems today. Okay? So we are, before we get going on the actual body systems, the different body systems, we're just going to talk a little bit about animals in general today and how we kind of organize and classify them. Yeah, Sophie?
I was going to say, don't we digest like a frog?
We do not dissect a frog. No, we do not dissect anything in 5th grade. Sorry. That would be fun. I loved dissecting animals. It's some of you might think it sounds gross. It's super awesome. Super awesome to get to see inside what it looks like. And they die of natural causes, the animals that you dissect. So it's not like somebody murdered them. Okay. When I was in high school, we dissected a pig. Not like a big old pig, like a little teeny like baby pig that died in its mom's tummy, a fetal pig. We did a frog and we did a cat.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
In what grade?
Huh?
In what grade?
When I was in high school. So you've got a while before that pops up. But this is the beginnings of that. Hang on, guys, you're interrupting.
You said that. You said that in front of my.
Okay. So, but before you get to where you can dissect things, we have to learn about those body parts that are on the inside and what they all do and why they're important. But before we get to that, we're going to learn about classifying different animals. Zeke, yes, sir.
It's kind of dissected here. Like,
Okay, hang on.
Miss Bab said that in front of my cat about dissecting a cat.
He's talking about when he has to clean a deer after he goes hunting. We don't want the details on that. Okay. I'll just wait till you guys are ready. Thank you. Okay, so on page 34, I'm going to read a little bit. We are going to have some vocabulary words, a couple of vocabulary words. We're not going to have all of the vocabulary words that this is saying. I am going to start with one vocabulary word, though, that's not in your book, but I'm going to give it to you anyway. The first vocab word I want you to have is organism. And it's a really simple vocabulary word. If I say an organism, I am talking about any living thing. That's it. So write this word down, organism. Any living thing. So we are organisms. Cows, chickens, pigs, dogs, cats, ponies, aloe plants, magnolia tree, rose bush, goldfish, mold, fungus,
or not.
Mold it's a living thing. It doesn't eat like we do, but it's a living thing. Bacteria,
Shrimp.
coronavirus,
Shrimp.
it's an organism, it's a living thing.
Shark.
It needs a host like us to live in. So an organism is any living thing. So we're going to be talking about, okay, organisms. How are organisms classified? So we usually, when we think about classified, I said, put these in a group by color. And you could classify something by putting all the blue things together, all the red things together, all the yellow things together. I could say classify these by how tall they are. And you could put all the tall things together, all the short things together. I could say classify these by age. And we could put people in groups of how old everybody is, okay? But when we're classifying animals, we classify them a little bit differently. So I'm going to start reading on page 34. If you don't have a book, just be a really good listener. There are millions of different organisms on Earth. Scientists organize these organisms by sorting or classifying them into groups according to their shared characteristics. So we know characteristics are things that tell about what we look like and our behaviors, okay? Classification has been called the science of finding patterns. Now, you're going to notice if you have your book that classification is highlighted, but you do not need to remember this as a vocab word, okay? Classifying helps scientists identify, study, group, and name organisms. One classification system used today divides all organisms into 6 major groups called kingdoms. The broadest group an organism is classified into is a kingdom. And if you look at the right-hand side of the page on 35, at the very top, there's a red box that says kingdom. And it shows pictures of different things. It's got a spider, it looks like a tarantula, some sort of like worm, lizard thing, a dog, a rhino, a zebra, a donkey, and a horse, okay? It says, rather than outward characteristics such as color, kingdoms are grouped by the internal form and structure. Scientists classify organisms into kingdoms by carefully comparing their cells, tissues, organs, and organ systems. So if I look at this spider, the insides of a spider are not the same as the insides of a dog. The insides of a dog are not the same as the insides of a rhino. Okay? So when I'm looking at all of these different animal pictures on Kingdom, their insides, even though, like, if I look at the end, the zebra, the donkey, and the horse all look very similar as far as like their body shape, but their insides and how they process different things is different. So they are actually kingdoms. Does that make sense? And so we're going to be learning about what we're going to be learning about the next couple of weeks from now till Christmas is all of those inside organ systems and how they're different. Josie, I know your hand is raised.
So, two things. So, one, do we need to write down kingdom?
No, you do not.
Okay. And two, isn't it like, I know for a fact that a koala is very different because its body can process like poisonous leaves. So that's just something that I'm pretty sure nothing else was like that.
That's going to be a very different one. And koalas are in a very small group called marsupials where they can put their young in their pouches and whatever. Fiona, I saw your hand next.
I think I've seen somewhere for like spiders that they don't they have blood, but yet it's so clear that you can't see it. Like if you smash a spider up against something, you can't see this spider's blood. All you can see is its guts.
Yeah, that might be true. I'm not sure. Sounds good. Kendall, hand raised. Or no, Grace's hand raised. Sorry. I get confused because it's a picture of Grace and Kendall.
Oh. What page are we on?
We're on page 34 in our science book.
Okay.
Maggie, hand raised.
I was going to ask what page we were on.
34. There we go. All right. I am about to start reading the third paragraph, ladies, on page 34.
Is kingdom?
Okay.
Kingdom is highlighted. The word kingdom is highlighted, but it is not a word you need to know. And then those of you that joined us a little late on, you see I'm presenting a board, and that word organism, that's a vocabulary word you're going to want to write down and remember, okay? Okay, kingdoms are very broad groups. For example, horses and spiders seem to have little in common, yet both are members of the animal kingdom. Okay? Clearly more and smaller. Now, because if you think about kingdoms, we have a plant kingdom. And so those are obviously way different than animal kingdom. There's like a bacteria kingdom because those are very different than plants and from animals, okay? So, yeah, even though horses and spiders are actually nothing alike, so it would seem, they're both animal. So they have that in common, okay?
And they both make noise.
They can make noises. Clearly, more and smaller groups are needed to fully classify an organism. So scientists use subgroups to classify within the kingdoms. This allows scientists to separate them into smaller groups that have more and more things in common. So if you go down from kingdom, and if you look at this chart on page 35, those of you that maybe don't have your science book, you can see it goes from kingdom to phylum. And then from phylum, it goes to class. And from class, it goes to an order, then a family, then a genus, and finally species. Species is the other vocabulary word we're going to write down right now. And it is the narrowest group an organism can be classified into, okay? Species. Narrowest group an organism can be classified into. Okay. All right. Okay. A species contains only organisms that are very closely related. A horse and a zebra share many traits, but they are not similar enough to be the same species. However, a horse and a pony are so similar that they are the same species. Okay. So if you look, kingdom is going to be the broadest group. They have lots in common. So if I look at the kingdom picture over on page 35, all of those are animals of different kinds, right? But like I said, looking at them, a spider and a rhino don't really have that much in common. And if I look down a little bit, it looks like we lost the spider out of that picture. So I would assume that then insects and bugs and things like that have a different phylum than all of these animals that we see under phylum, right? And if I go down to class, then I lost the lizard-looking thing. So I would assume amphibians, like frogs, lizards, things like that, have their own group separate from that phylum. And then I go down from class, and I lost the dog. So a dog is a mammal. So at this point, we've left the mammals into a different group. And then I've got order. And then when I go from order to family, I lose the rhino. I don't know what's different between a rhino and all of those others there, but I do know that when I look at family, they all look like kinds of horse type looking animals. I've got a zebra, a donkey, and a horse. And a rhino is clearly different from that, right?
It has a giant horn.
Yeah, it has a giant horn. I mean, its body is shaped differently. And then when I go from family to genus, I lose the zebra. I don't know, again, I don't personally know what's exactly different between the zebra and the donkey and the horse. Obviously, zebras have a very specific color pattern, but there's probably more to it than that.
Black with white stripes and white with black stripes.
And then when I go down further, I lose the donkey and I go just to a horse. Donkeys are generally shorter than horses, but there are midget horses too, so I'm not sure, or I don't know what those differences are, but scientists that study those animals could tell you probably tons of differences between them.
Scientists come here.
Lily,
So are zebras black with white stripes or white with black?
I think they're black with white, but I could look that up.
No,
Hang on.
I think black.
Hang on. That's simple.
They can
Are
technically-
zebras?
They can be literally you can choose. It's like the way you look at it.
Read it to us.
Black is the color of their actual fur, and the white patches are simply areas that have little or no pigmentation. So they are black with white stripes. Yes. Okay. And if you look at them, you can see it both ways. But if you were to actually scientifically look at them microscopically, they are black with white stripes. Okay. All right, I'm going to stop presenting for a second because we don't need those words just yet or anymore. Hopefully you guys have them all written down. Okay. Now, we're going to go down a little further. So we're in the animal kingdom. So we're not going to worry about spiders and insects. We're not going to worry much about lizards and amphibians and things like that. We are going to talk about, we're going to be going further into animals that we recognize on a more daily basis, okay? But for now, all animals. We're not talking about plants. We're not talking about bacteria. We're in the animal kingdom. What makes organisms in the animal kingdom, and I'm on page 36 now, different from organisms in other kingdoms? Animals are completely multicellular. Multi means more than one. Cellular means they have cells in their body. We know we have little cells. There's something that's too small for us to see with our eyes, but we know that our body is made up of lots of different cells. So we know that every animal is multicellular, meaning we have more than one cell in our body. I think that's something that, even though nobody specifically told us this, it's something we just kind of all know, right? Zeke, yes, sir.
One thing is, spiders aren't insects, they're arachnids, and lizards aren't amphibians.
Thank you. Zeke schooled me on the definition of spiders and lizards and which class they belong to. And he's correct. So we'll carry on. Thank you, Zeke. Animals are completely multicellular. Plants and animals are the only kingdoms that include only multicellular organisms. Two other kingdoms, fungi and protists, have both unicellular and multicellular species. So if multicellular means they have more than one, what do you think unicellular means? Greg? One. They are organisms that only have one cell. So are these going to be big creatures or little teeny tiny creatures? Teeny microscopic little creatures. So now we're talking about like bacteria and germs and little things like that that we can't actually see with our eyes, right? Okay.
Yeah.
If we have a microscope, not with your naked eye, meaning just your eye.
We should get one.
Okay, animals do not make their own food. Plants can make their own food. We talked about that. They use the energy from the sun. But animals must consume other organisms and to get their energy, okay? So animals are all consumers that we just talked about in that ecosystem food chain, right? Also, plant cells have cell walls. So their cells inside their body have walls around them, like not a wall like you think of, like a concrete or wooden wall, but they have a little wall around them. But unlike plants, animal cells do not have walls. Many animals are capable from moving to place to place. Plants only move when carried by the wind or water or animals, right? A plant can't get up and walk from here to there. Those of you that like go to the Christmas tree farm to cut down your tree, the trees aren't just wandering around the field trying to run away from you. But if you tried to go hunt a deer, it's going to try and get away from you. Obviously, animals can move around. Plants do not. The animal kingdom is one of the largest kingdoms. The animal kingdom features 9 phyla, which is the next level down, that belong to 2 major groups, vertebrates and invertebrates. And these are going to be more vocabulary words that we are going to write down. And this has to do with if you have a backbone or not, a spine, okay? So a vertebrate is an animal that has a backbone or a spine. An invertebrate is an animal without a backbone. Like fish have a backbone, but what animal can you think of that doesn't? Snake.
No, snakes have one arm, friends.
A spine?
Yeah. Look, you see what I know? On vertebrates, snake is under it.
Okay.
Yeah, snakes.
All right, so look at the picture on page
I know
36.
what, that's an invertebrate, a crab.
Yes, they have an exoskeleton.
Jellyfish. Yeah, dragon.
Invertebrate.
Coral.
Squirrel has a backbone.
I said coral.
Oh, that's not an
Yes,
animal.
it is.
Animal?
It's an invertebrates.
Okay.
No, coral is
Animals without a backbone. And vertebrate. And this is, for me, it's easy to remember because I know that my spine, the bones that make up your spine are called vertebrae. So the individual bones, like if I think about our spine and it has a bunch of little bones like this,
looks like a ladder.
it kind of looks like a ladder. This little section right here is a vertebrate. And this is a vertebrate. And this is a vertebrate. So all those little sections that make up your spine are vertebrae. And that makes sense because a vertebrate is an animal with,
Is it just animals?
yes. Yeah, this doesn't apply to plants. This is only in the animal kingdom. Okay? Plants are not categorized as vertebrate or invertebrate. They don't have backbones. They have stems. Ultimately, a tree trunk is a stem. That's weird. But true. So yeah, vertebrate and invertebrate only applies to things in the animal kingdom. Okay. All right. So it says invertebrate phyla include mollusks. Mollusks are like clams
And mussels, right?
and mussels. Okay, so you think about like the clams in the ocean, like the little shells that open up and have a pearl inside of them or whatever. Some people eat those, not me.
I want mussels. They're so
Oh, okay. Who raised hand? Grace. Yes, ma'am.
Well, this is not like related to science, but I actually went to Disney and got a like pearl out of a shell. And,
Out of a clam.
I'm actually wearing the necklace right now.
That's awesome. Very cool. All right. Echinoderms and arthropods. Mollusks are something like clams and snails, and they mainly have shells on them. Okay. Echinoderms are sea stars, sea cucumbers, and sea urchins. So if you think about like a starfish, it doesn't have a backbone. And arthropods are the largest invertebrate phylum. In fact, there are more arthropod species than there are species in any other animal phyla. Most arthropods are insects, though arthropods also include spiders, crabs, and lobsters. So there's a ton in that arthropod category. Okay. So when I think about arthropods, it's things that have multiple arms and legs and things like that. So yeah, spiders, crabs, lobsters, insects, all of them have lots of legs and arms and things. Sam.
You know when you eat clams, they're actually alive?
Sam says when you eat clams, they're actually alive. That grosses me out. Now I want to eat them even less.
Because if you eat them when they're dead, you'll die.
If you eat a clam when it's dead, you'll die. Are you serious?
That makes no sense. No, it's true.
They probably release a toxin when they die.
Yeah, it's like you're making your own sushi.
That's true because you'd shell it and then you eat it right away, like out of the shell. I know that, but it's like the texture is so gross, so I can't handle it. Lily.
So we went to Gulf Shores and I tried a clam and I couldn't swallow it.
Yeah, Lily tried to eat it at Gulf Shores and she couldn't swallow it.
You can't chew it. Oh yeah, I have to
Swallow it. Yeah.
I had a tiny.
And now people are talking about eating octopus and things. Okay, carrying on. Arthropods are the biggest group. Okay. John. Okay. All right. All vertebrates, so animals with a backbone, belong to the phylum Chordata. Animals in this phylum are called chordates. They are animals that have a supporting rod that runs most of the length of their body for at least part of their lives. All vertebrates have a backbone, a nervous system, which is your nerves, which helps you feel things, and a brain. Within the vertebrate group, there are 7 classes. 3 of those classes are types of fish: amphibians, reptiles, birds, and mammals. Okay? Mammals are the most familiar vertebrate group. They include dogs, horses, kangaroos, and humans. There are about 5,000 identified mammals. Mammals make up about 10% of the entire vertebrate group, which has about 50,000 identified species. Okay? All right. So, amphibians, if I'm looking at those classes, 3 different classes of fish. Okay? Amphibians are things like lizards and salamanders. Reptiles are snakes, things like that. Birds, obviously, and then mammals. Mammals are things that you would normally recognize that give birth to live young, like dogs, cats,
Humans.
pigs, cows, sheep, like pretty much any normal, everyday kind of animal that you could think of that would be on a farm, or any animal. I wouldn't say any animal that's a pet, because some bunnies, some of you guys have snakes and things, and birds as pets. Bunny, hamster, guinea pig, all mammals.
I have a dog.
Mammals give birth to live young that are not in an egg. So if you think about birds, they give birth, they lay eggs. Reptiles lay eggs. Amphibians are like they have like a different version of a baby. Like a frog has a tadpole, like little eggs that sprout into a tadpole kind of a thing. So most of those other things lay eggs, as opposed to giving birth to a live young person thing, animal. Riley.
I found that out because my dad said it.
Wait, what?
Dakota French has a snake.
Dakota French has a pet snake. I had a friend last year, if you know Jacob Harmon,
Oh yeah.
Yes.
he had a snake. And then when we were virtual in the
Piper.
spring, a lot of times he would be on the meetings, and he would have like this, it was yellow. He would have it like wrapped around him and whatever, just be like wearing it. It would creep me out.
Actually,
I'm not a
actually
snake.
is really cool because the skin actually feels really cool.
It does feel very soft. I have like pet a snake where somebody had the head away from me and I didn't, but like they creep me out. I'm not a snake reptile person at all. Sophie.
I have 4 kittens. I have 4 kittens at home. 3 of them are black and they all have blue eyes, and 1 of them has white mittens.
Oh, that's sweet. Okay, this is not talk about your pet time though. We all probably, like, I know most of us actually have pets. So, a gecko.
I used to have
All right.
my gecko died.
Okay, like the Geico gecko.
Yeah.
Okay, Josie, question.
Yeah.
Listen.
Okay, 2 things. So, one, what is the group called for all of the things that lay eggs?
There are several of them.
Oh,
Um,
2, I just wanted to share this. During the summer, in the top of my pool, there were thousands of tadpoles, and we raised like 1,000, but they all died.
aw.
But there was like 2,000 of them, and they were just in this big bucket for the whole entire like summer.
That's what happened to
Tadpoles.
mine too.
Yes. And yes, you guys were discussing on there that you said humans give live birth. Yes, we are considered mammals. We are in the animal. Yeah. We do not lay eggs. No, that would be weird.
We act like animals.
Okay. Sometimes some of you do act like animals. That's true. Sometimes you guys act like animals.
Humans have eggs in them.
Okay. Females. Okay. All right. For today, you are going to use the pages that we just read through to answer the questions on the worksheet. Okay. If you are at home, you have a worksheet called Animal Systems Introduction. And so you are going to use your pages to fill this out. And if you are in my classroom, I'm going to hand you the worksheet. Hang on, somebody just asked something. Hand raise, ask the question. I don't know. Okay. All right. Does anybody have any questions? Because otherwise you guys are good to go. You can hang up and start working on your worksheet, your science book. If you don't have your science book, you're probably just going to have to go back and re-listen to the video when I post it in a minute and try and remember the answers as best you can. Because some of them you're definitely going to need the book for. So you may just have to listen to me reread it when I post the recording in a minute. Avery, yes, ma'am.
Where do you post the recordings?
I will post it to Seesaw. I can have Mr. Rothweiler share it to you. And it'll just say like science December 3rd live. And then, yeah. But what I will say, Avery, since you're going to be home for a while, right? You're going to be with us for a while. You might have mom or dad or whoever run up here and grab your science book for you. It'll probably just be easier.
Okay.
And I can have it in the office for you. Okay.
But
and I'll tell Mr. Art
today.
But yeah, I'll share the video for today for sure. And then I'll have Mr. R put your science book up there for you to have. Okie dokie.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Anybody else have any questions online before I go start passing this out? Grace? No? Okay.
I think she's just waving.
Oh, she's just waving. Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to go talk to them and I will see you guys later.
Bye.
Bye.